आराध्य भगवान व्रजेश तनयस तद्धाम वृंदावनम रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधुवर्गेण तया कल्पिता। श्रीमद् भागवत पुराणमलम् प्रेम पुमार्थो महान् श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतैदं नायत्र याग्रह परः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुता पदकमलम् श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नवनीरदनिन्दित कान्तिधरं रससागर नागर भूपवरं शुभवङ्किमचारु शिखण्डशिखिं भज कृष्णनिधिं व्रजराजसुतं भज कृष्णनिधिं व्रजराजसुतम्। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। राधिका सरोदिन्दु निन्दिमो मण्डली वन्दिये श्रीपादपद्मं वृषभानुनन्दिनी वन्दिये श्रीपादपद्मं वृषभानुनन्दिनी वन्दिये श्रीपादपद्मं वृषभानुनन्दिनी। आजानुलम्बितो भुजो कनकायवधातु संकीर्तनै पितरवो कमलायताक्षो विश्वम्भरो द्विजवरो युगधर्मपालो वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरो करुणा अवतारो तक्तासुदस्तिजं सुरेप्सितराजलक्ष्मीं धर्मिष्ठया आर्यवचसा यगदाद अरण्यं मायामृगं दैप्सितम् अन्यधावा वन्दे महापुरुष्यते चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे महापुरुष्यते चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे महापुरुष्यते चरणारविन्दम्. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Today is Sunday, the 20th of March, 2022. And I welcome all the listeners to the Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad group. All glories to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya, Sampradaya Acharyagan, and all the Vaishnavas in the Rupanuga line, followers of Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. I offer my obeisances to Srila Rupa Goswami, who has understood the desires in the innermost chambers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hearts. May he give me shelter at his lotus feet. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, continuing into this beautiful conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda from the Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we have mentioned in the past, if one has understood the fundamentals and the essence of this particular conversation, then one is blessed with the highest concept of Krishna Bhakti. This subject matter is for a very mature audience. And I'm hoping that by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the most revered Gaudiya Acharyas, they will guide us as we go through this particular conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda. So far we have understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has asked Rayaramananda when he went to a South Indian tour on the banks of the Godavari. They meet in a very secluded place. So Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada also has made a wonderful comment that such topics are to be discussed not in front of the public. Generally, Rayaramananda would come along with every evening with his security guards, with his other associates in regards to the administration, because he was the governor of Vidyanagar in the southern part of India. and he would be accompanied by many wonderful Vedic Brahmins. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions that they were not pure devotees. Therefore, they would never be able to understand the pure Gaudiya Rasa or the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda. Therefore, Ramananda Rai was requested by Mahaprabhu, tomorrow when you come alone, and we will meet in a secluded place. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to discuss a lot of rasa or rasic topics in seclusion with a very few devotees. In Jagannath Puri, he discussed it in the Gambhira with Sarup Damodar Goswami and Rai Ramananda, who later on joined him in Puri after resigning as governor of Vidyanagar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to have confidential conversations with Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, with Raghupati Upadhyay, and such very advanced devotees. And one of the most beautiful things about Mahaprabhu was him being Sri Nandanandan in the mood of Rishabhanu Nandini Radharani, although being the Rasraj, Navanira, the Nindita Kanti Dharam, Raso Sagar, Nagara Bhupavaram. He is the Rasa Sagar, the ocean of mellows, the ocean of rasa. Rup Goswami, when he comments on the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, he has given a very rasic meaning. When we were serving Srimad Bhagavatam in the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group, I believe I finished the first 3 verses and it took several weeks. And explaining the first verse from the rasic angle, Rup Goswami mentions Janmadi Yasya, the first 2 words of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first 2 words of the Vedanta Sutra. So what does Janmadi Yasya mean? So in the general sense, most of the commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, rightfully so, they have commented that Krishna, you are the source of everything. As like Brahmaji says in the Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Rupa, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. So generally speaking, one has that reverential or the Aishwarya Bhav towards Sri Krishna, because he is the source of all the creation, the spiritual worlds, Vaikuntha Lokas, and the cause of all material creations, and the cause of all Devi Devtas, the demigods, and all the cause of all the avatars, all the different avatars, Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, both the Chaturvyus with the same names. Then Sankarshan and Mahasankarshan further expand into different expansions in Vaikuntha Loka as the different Lord Narayanas and different avatars of the Supreme Lord, some as Guna avatar, some as Leela avatar, Narsingha, Vamana, Madhusudana, etc., Matsya, Kurma, all these different avatars. And then, of course, the 3 the Vishnus, Mahavishnu or Karunadaksai Vishnu, Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and Shirodaksai Vishnu. And they are instrumental in the creation of the material world, along with the first created being, Lord Brahma. So Sarva Karana Karanam, he is the cause of all causes. But Rup Goswami says, not only that, from the Rasik angle, he is the cause of rasa, along with Srimati Radharani, his Aladini Shakti. The mellows, the different components of prema, as we see that there is a loving relationship or a relationship of some good bonding between master and servant. So what we call as the Dasyaras. And then there is a relationship that we find even within our own experience, Sakhya relationship, friendship. So there is love between friends. And then we also find another relationship of Vatsalya Rasa, where the relationship of parental love, or we also personally experience that in the material world. And then the highest of amongst all of these being the Madhurya Rasa, that is the love that is exhibited in conjugal Madhurya Rasa between two lovers, Premi and Premika. Or we can even say to a certain extent husband and wife. So these different rasas, Janmadi Yasya, you are the source of them. And that is the reason why we have them in the material world. Because this material world is a shadow of the spiritual real object. Vedyam Vastavam Vastu. Srimad Bhagavatam, second verse. Vedyam, one has to know. Vastavam Vastu, the real Vastu, the real object is Sri Krishna. So, if there is a real object, if there is Kaya, then only possible Chaya. Otherwise, there is no Chaya. If there is an object, a real object, then there is shadow. Without the real object, there is no shadow. So, because all these things that we experience in the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, but the biggest fault and the difference is that it is for our own indriya trupti, for our own sense gratification. It is not for the pleasure of Krishna. All our activities here in this material world is for us. A wife is not a wife, or a husband is not a husband until and unless they are giving some sense gratification and some material joy to each other. There is no spiritual joy between relationships in this material world. The moment that joy is cut short, the relationships cut short. Whether it is wife, husband, parents, friends, brothers, sisters, etc. And we all have either experienced it in our personal life or have seen it or heard it. But in the spiritual world, where the real Vastu is, the object is Sri Krishna. So the prema is eternal and it is full of truthfulness. It is without any tinge of material motive. It is ahaituki and apratihata. It is uninterrupted and without any material desires, without a tinge of materialism. Shuddha, 100% pure. So, as we can understand, Krishna is the source of rasa. And mainly, Rup Goswami explains that the rasa that is experienced by the close associates of Krishna, which are the Vrajvasis, whether it be in the Sakhya, Vatsalya or Madhurya, Krishna is the source of their inspiration and their love. And their inspiration and love is the source of great joy and bliss for Sri Krishna. In Chaitanya Sistastakam, first verse, the word Ananda Ambudi Vardhanam appears. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadava Agni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, Ananda Ambudi Vardhanam, Pratipada Purna Amruta Swadanam, Sarva Atma Snapannam, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So Ananda Ambudi Vardhanam, again, based on the consciousness of devotees, they have explained it. And based on the consciousness of the public at large, the acharyas have also explained it in different ways. So one simple way that we normally know is it increases the bliss or joy for the devotee when one takes to chanting of Sankirtan, which has a very profound effect of destroying all dirty things that are in the heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It cleans the heart and it extinguishes the davanal or the forest fire. And the positivity thereafter is that the heart becomes so pure like a white lily that blossoms in the full moonlight on Purnima day, smiling to the moon. And the moon is a representation of the Sadguru, Lord Nityananda or Balram, who then, the rays of the moon, they shine without any hindrance because the heart is cleansed. And all the kripa, including rasa from Golok, is imparted into the heart of the devotee. And when that happens, the positive effect further takes the devotee into the next stage, which is Vidyavadu Jivanam. One obtains by the mercy of Ananga Manjari. Ananga Manjari is Lord Nityananda. Ananga Manjari is Lord Balram. Difference is Ananga Manjari is in the Madhurya Rasa. Lord Nityananda is in the Sakhya and sometimes in the Vatsalya Rasa as Lord Balram. And he is present in all 5 rasas. So here that Janmadi Yasya, Sri Ananga Manjari, who is none other than Radharani's younger sister, she opens up the doors of pure rasa in the Swapaksha Gopi Bhav of Sri Radha, and which is the Bamya Bhav. On Gaur Purnima, we explained a little bit about the 2 types of gopis. One is Bamya Bhav and one is Dakshin Bhav. So Dakshin Bhav, or the right, we call the rightist gopis, the gopis that are generally, they are very, very, very humble, and their main theme is Krishna, we are yours. We are yours. Amito Tomar. And in that, Krishna is in full control of their emotions, of whatever he desires. Those gopis are very, very humble. And the topmost of the rightist gopi or the Dakshin Bhav gopi is Radharani's cousin Chandravali. Whereas the Bamya Bhav gopis, and their bhav is that Krishna, you are ours or you are mine, that possessiveness. And Krishna is controlled fully by them. Fully. He becomes full of control, and this is what actually Krishna hankers after. Because he is so used to controlling the entire creation. Everybody is singing his glories in the Vedas, and even the opulence of Krishna is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Even nature or Prakriti, Maya Adhyakshena, Prakriti Suya Suyate Characharam. Krishna says that even this Prakriti or nature is following his instructions. Everybody. So his role as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known to 99.999% of the devotees in the material world and in the spiritual world. But there is a small percentage, especially in Vraj or in Golok, where they do not know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, it is by the mercy of Yogamaya that Yogamaya, Purnamasi and Vrindadevi, these three make these arrangements because Krishna has given them the permission. Please take away this Aishwarya. I do not even want to know that I am the Supreme Personality. Make me forget that. And please, all my Vrajvasis, make them forget that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is just pure love. Sometimes we find that people get attracted because some person has Aishwarya. If somebody is very aristocratic, that attraction is there. That we find that people get attracted to people who are very wealthy. Suddenly we'll find that, supposing if somebody hits the lottery and he becomes a multi-millionaire, suddenly he's going to find those phone calls ringing, all those phones that he had never heard from such people even in 10 years. How are you? Oh, we have not heard you. We just thought of you. In Gujarati, there is a wonderful saying which I will translate. If some of you can understand, that's great, but I will still translate it. Nana vagarno nathyo, nane natha lal. I'll repeat that again so you can absorb it. जो हिंदी बोलते हैं और जो समझते हैं उसको भी absorb करने की कोशिश कीजिएगा. नाना वगरनो नाथियो, नाणे नाथा लाल. So nana in Gujarati means wealth, money. Nana vagar मतलब nana के बिना, without somebody who doesn't have money and his name is actually Natha Lal with respect, but they call him because he doesn't have money. He'll say, "Hey Nathya, idhar aa. Nathya, come here." But when that same person has a lot of money, Nane Natha Lal. Nane means when he has nana, money. Everybody will say, "Oh Natha Lal, how are you? How are things with you? Natha Lal ji, Natha Lal, Natha Lal." That time they don't call him Nathyo. So that is a lot of the case that we find, even when we first we actually learn about the opulence of the Supreme Lord, and perhaps if we are very fortunate, then we will fall in love with him. The inner sweetness of Sri Krishna. I mentioned this many times, that Bhagavad Gita is very good. Undoubtedly, it is the foundation that will lead us to the attraction, further attraction to Sri Krishna. Bhagavad Gita will help us build a foundation to build the sambandha with Krishna. Sambandha means knowing. In simple terms or simple practical experience, supposing if somebody has a son or a daughter that they want to wed, and generally we find even today in India, of course now that is also depleting. Now everybody finds their own mate, their life soul. But previously, at least, in the generation when I was born, mostly the marriages were arranged. But prior to arranging a marriage, there was a sambandha, a relationship was established, and then the wedding would happen. How is that so? So simply, the parents that are trying to get their children married, they would start spreading the word around in their friends and in their community that I have a daughter, she is very beautiful and she is very educated and she has got very good household skills and all those good qualities. By word of mouth, it is spread. And we are looking for a nice groom or a boy for her. So then, when the word spreads around, then people come back from the family and friends that, hey, there is a nice boy, he is also very educated. He's nice, tall, handsome, gora, chitta, very, very fair. All those qualities, and his opulence about how much money he makes, and opulence about the father's business, and so many other things, his opulence or Aishwarya, news is brought. And just by hearing about the opulence or the Aishwarya of that person, the parents of the girl, or vice versa, the parents of the boy, they are attracted to build a sambandha, to build a relationship. And I'm sure all of you that are present here, at least that I know, have, I'm assuming you all have 100% understood what I'm trying to say, because I don't see anybody who is very young here who would not understand the arranged marriage concept. I feel that all of you that I know here, you're all have experienced what I'm speaking. So similarly, Bhagavad Gita, it attracts us to the opulence of Sri Krishna, to the Aishwarya of Sri Krishna. That's why Krishna himself says that Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudev Sarvamiti Samatma Sudurlabh. So out of the millions and millions of people in this material world, very few take to spirituality. And even after taking to spirituality, a lot of them are worshipping different Devi Devtas, worshippers of different demigods. But amongst those spiritualists, there is very few who are great souls, who understands me, that I am the supreme personality of Godhead. Bahunam janmanamante gyanvan mam prapadyante. So here Krishna speaks about gyan or knowledge. He has not established sambandha. Sambandha is not yet established. Mam prapadyate means one surrenders unto me. Now, when the surrender to Sri Krishna begins, that's when Krishna, who is Karuna Sindhu, will impart and open up a new dimension of building a relationship with him. And prema is the highest stage of that relationship. Like again, coming back to that previous example of the arranged marriage. Arranged marriages, even statistically speaking, they last much longer than today's love marriages, which statistically speaking, they culminate quite a bit into broken relationships. In the love marriage system, you fall in so-called love first, and then you tie the knot, then you get married. But in the arranged marriage system, based on the opulence of the person or based on the resume of the person, one has the desire to establish a relationship or a sambandha. And once that first step of marriage takes place, then slowly over a period of time, there is attraction and there is love in that relationship. And that love is just not maintained to that extent that how many times those couples are having sex or a physical union. That love is based on the unconditional service that they do for each other and make them happy till death does them apart. You know, in the most sattvic sense. And actually speaking, there is no real love in this material world. But that is a topic for another day, because it is all based even in a small tinge of lust. There is some kam vasana. There is some sense. Kam vasana does not mean just sex. It means sense gratification. A good example of kam vasana is I did something for you, and if you don't do something back for me, that expectation is kam vasana. That see, I did this, but see, he never does this for me or she never does this for me. Simple example. Even in the most subtle sense, it is there, even in the best of the relationships that are of a very sattvic in nature. But there where there is no material karma, is the relationship only that one can have with Sri Krishna, or the incarnations of Krishna in the Aishwarya Bhav of Dasya Rasa. So, coming back to the main point of Sambandha, Krishna says, Jnanavan mam prapadyate. Those who have understood that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means those who have understood my Aishwarya will, those who have knowledge of me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they will surrender to me. So, that mood is Dasya in there. And Krishna further says, even amongst all these spiritualists, Sa Mahatma Sodurlabha. Amongst them also, there are very few who accept Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is it true or not? If we really see, let's take the Bharatvarsh or India, the land of Bharat. We find that even today, you go on the street and start interviewing people. Ki bhai, Bhagwan kaun hai? Someone will say, oh, hamare liye to Mahadev ji Bhagwan hai. Ganesh ji is my Lord. Durga Devi is my worshipable deity. And then someone will say, all gods are one. Right? So here, that is why Krishna is using Sa Mahatma Sudurlabh. One who purely accepts that Krishna is Purna Purushottam. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, even amongst that, when the shortlist, Krishna also says one more wonderful shloka. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. And out of those, thousands of those, meaning from that category of Mahatma who have accepted me as the Supreme Lord, out of those also, kaschid yatate, very rarely one attains the topmost siddhi. Here, that siddhi Rasikacharyas explain is the siddhi of Vraj Bhakti. And this is what this conversation is all about. Otherwise, Bhagavad Gita is there. And I again would like to mention, Sri Prabhupada mentioned that one should study Bhagavad Gita nicely, follow the 4 regulative principles, chant 16 good rounds, and you will go home back to Godhead. Yes, Sri Prabhupada promised that. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that, what is that verse? Pratijanati kaunteya name bhaktya pranashyati. Oh Arjun, you declare that my devotee will never perish. So a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, Shadanga Sharanagati hoive jar tar prarthana sune Vrajendra Kumar. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ji says in the Sharanagati introductory song, Shadanga Sharanagati hoive, one who is fully surrendered with the 6 branches of surrender, which His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and our Gaudiya Acharyas, the pure Acharyas in the line are, Shadanga Sharanagati hoive jar tar prarthana shune Vrajendra Kumar. Then the young son of Nanda Maharaj, Kishore Krishna, the Rasik, Radharaman Krishna will indeed listen to his prayers. So when Prabhupada says you will go back home, back to Godhead, yes, 100%, if we are able to chant 16, minimum 16 good rounds, and we follow the 4 regulative principles, and we study books like Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But Prabhupada never used the words, you will go back to Golok. Prabhupada is very clever. Jai bhaje Krishna sai bado chatur. Chaitanya Charitamrita. One who worships Krishna is an expert, chatur. We all have to accept how Srila Prabhupada, Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine, even the toughest nuts like Mayavadis, Nirvisesh, Shunyavadi, the Buddhist, and the Paschatya Desh, those people from the Western countries who were full of sense gratification, the hippies, free sex, free drugs, free drinking, everything about just the body, on the bodily concept. Prabhupada blessed them with Gauravani and made hippies into happies, made them into Vaishnavas. So he's so expert. He's Daksha. Nikunja yuno rati keli siddhya yaya alibir yuktir apekshaniya tatra ati dakshat ati vallabhasya vande guru Sri Charanaravindam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Path says that I offer my obeisances unto all those gurus in the Gaudiya line, the followers of Mahaprabhu, because they are so dear to Radha Krishna, because they are expert in the service. So an expert like Prabhupada cannot choose the wrong words. He says, yes, going back to God. So if one is able to remember the holy names at the time when they leave their bodies, even if it is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, all their lives, if they've chanted 16 good rounds, Krishna will bless them with his remembrance at the time of death. And when death comes, the jiva will be transported to the Vaikuntha Loka, not to Golok. Because if our consciousness is not of Vraj, even if we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and if we do not mature to the Vraj Leelas, the attraction to the lotus feet of the Vrajvasis, the Manjaris, the Gopis, and the Manjaris are our Acharyas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Nayana Manjari, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is Kamala Manjari. Like that, Srila Gaur Krishna Baji Maharaj is Guna Manjari. So all these Manjaris, Krishnaraj Kaviraj Goswami, whose Chaitanya Charitamrita we are serving right now as we speak, is Kasturi Manjari. His Gurudev, Loknath Goswami, is Manjulali Manjari. Then we have Rupa Goswami, Rup Manjari, Sanatan Goswami, Lavanga Manjari, Jiva Goswami, Vilas Manjari, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, to whom Radha Ramanji manifest, is Guna Manjari. So like these, unless and until we are not attracted to their lotus feet, how can we expect to go to Golok Vrindavan? You have to think about this. So we have to graduate and postgraduate, and we have to get the doctorate of entering into the mood, the real mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why he came. We explained that on Gaur Purnima. We did Katha almost 3 hours. And we gave all the internal reasons of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And that is this conversation. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, next day they met, he asked Ramanand Rai, hey Rai, please tell me, what is the goal of human life? Similar to the question that Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukdev Goswami. But the difference is Mahaprabhu is so sweet that he loves to discuss, as I had mentioned earlier, topics, rasic topics, by asking questions, like more or less like becoming a student and giving the opportunity to his Varishtha, to his great devotees, to his Rasik devotees, to play the part of an instructor. Like Mahaprabhu, when he met Raghupati Upadhyaya, he used to ask him many questions. Please quote a nice verse. Because he knew Raghupati Upadhyaya was a very Rasik Vaishnava. And Raghupati Upadhyaya used to fan Mahaprabhu's thirst or that fire within him into a blazing inferno. Similarly, Sarup Damodar Goswami, Rayaramananda, Rup Sanatan, etc., these acharyas, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Sikhi Mahiti, all those associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they fanned Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's burning love that he had in the mood of a bhakta for Sri Krishna, in separation, in the Vipralamba Bhav. So, By reading Bhagavad Gita or studying Bhagavad Gita, we don't feel those sentiments in our heart. Unless and until we further enter into the rasa of Srimad Bhagavatam, and that too if we hear from a rasik devotee, hear or read his books, then and then the newer and newer doors are opened. More and more rasa, sweeter and sweeter it gets. So he asked Ramanand, please tell me, what is the goal of human life? And you have to tell me based on Shastric evidence, not just by saying that, oh, this is the goal of life, but please support it with the proper shlokas from the Shastras. So Rai Ramanand first says that the worship of Vishnu in the Varnasrama system. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Iho bahya, aage kaho. This is external. Because, just to rekindle, because these are some of those fundamentals that I sometimes like to repeat again and again for the benefit of everyone, including myself. Why is Vishnu rejected? And why is Varnashram rejected? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasa. I have created this Varna and Ashram. The 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams of the 4 Varnas are Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahman. And the 4 Ashrams are Brahmacharya, Gruhastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa Ashram. So these I have created so that mankind can slowly, gradually come to a sattvic platform. And once they are on the highest sattvic platform, they will be able to enter into Shuddha Sattvam, meaning they will go beyond the 3 modes of material nature. A Shudra is predominantly Tamoguni. A Vaishya has got some Tamogun and some Rajogun. A Kshatriya is mostly Rajoguni. And a Brahman is Satoguni. And the ashrams are meant to cultivate Krishna consciousness. So nobody is left out. Not even the lowest person, in the sense that he is very, very engrossed in material activities, very, very grossly involved in Indriya Trupti, in Tamogun, living an animalistic life. Vyasdeva has mentioned this. What is that? Ahar, Nidra, Bhai, Maithunam Chat. Ahar, Nidra, Bhai, and Maithun. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Etat Pashubhi Samana. Ahar, Nidra, Bhai, Maithun. Etat Naranam Pashubhi Samana. Dharmena Adhika Vishesho. The 5th faculty that a human being has is dharma. Dharma Vihina Pashubhi Samana. Because animals also eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Animals eat, human beings eat. Animals sleep, human beings sleep. Animals are fearful, human beings are fearful. Animals have sex, human beings have sex. So what is the difference? Pashubhi Naranam Samana. But if unless and until we cultivate spirituality, then we are as good as animals. Very, very clear cut, not beating around the bush. Shastra, as it is. That is why Krishna is so kind, that even for somebody who is a very, very of low mentality, low consciousness, animalistic in nature, if we can say that based on the verse of the Adi Parva in Mahabharata, Ahar Nidra Bhai Maithunacha, even that person gets an opportunity to slowly elevate themselves from Tamogun to Rajo, Rajo to Sato. But there comes a point that we have to go beyond Satogun, because all these 3 will keep us in the material world. Tamoguni and Rajogunis predominantly, they will end up in the hellish planets. Narkiya lokas. And those who are sattvic in nature, when they die, they will end up in any of the 6 swargas or the 6 heavenly planets. And when after some time, either from swarga or from narak, they come back to the earthly planet and they have to start all over again. And again, depending on sangha, association, either they, at the time of death, they are tamoguni or papis, or at the time of death, they are satogunis and they end up again in swarga. Or if they are very fortunate, if they have cultivated pure bhakti, then they will go beyond heaven, the earthly planets, and the hellish planets. They will go into the Vaikuntha planets. So Vishnu Loka has been rejected for one important reason is because, and that is based on, last times, if you all can recollect, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, Sri Prabhupada's Gurudev's Anubhashya. Why is it rejected? Because those who have gone to the higher planetary systems, meaning to the Swargiya Lokas, even those who have reached the Brahma Loka, which is the topmost Swarga, they are simply waiting to, out of frustration, that their time should not expire in that region and they should go into they should merge into the Brahma Jyoti. So that the Brahma Jyoti, see, these are concepts that should not be forgotten, because that's why I'm repeating this. Sometimes some devotees may recollect, sometimes not. So in Brahma Jyoti is a layer between the real spiritual world and the material world. And Brahma Jyoti is bereft. It does not have Tamogun, Rajogun and Satogun. But at the same time, one does not get darshan of the Lord, where everything is nirgun, where you cannot see any personalities. And if everything is nirgun, where it is just Brahma Jyoti and energy, although it is Shuddha Sattvam, because there is no activity, they must fall down, those jivas who have reached the Brahma Loka. So the desire to not to come back in this material region is out of frustration, because they know, they have, at least that knowledge has been cultivated by those persons, that this material world is dukkhalayam. It is an ocean of miseries. Dukh means miseries and alayam means a huge ocean. So it is to their benefit. They're thinking about themselves, that I don't want to go back to the material world. Therefore, they aim for Brahma Jyoti, or they even aim for Vaikuntha, so that they can obtain the 4 types of muktis. They can obtain the Sarupya Mukti, the Salokya Mukti, the Samipya Mukti, and the Sarshti Mukti. Liberation. Like, sometimes we watch movies and we even hear people who are very frustrated in life, with either with someone or with a certain situation. So they say, please liberate me. Mujhe mukt kar do. Bahut ho gaya. So similarly, that is out of frustration. People want to give up these 3 modes of material nature. So there is selfishness there. Please try to understand this concept. And it is out of selfishness they want to either go to Brahma Jyoti or they want to go to Vaikuntha Loka. Where once they reach Vaikuntha Loka, then they will never be able to Tattva Punarjanmaneti Mameti Swarjuna. One who reaches the Vaikuntha region, then they will never come back into the material world. So that is the impetus, or that is the desire, or that is the reason why a lot of people, or devotees in particular, they do devotional activities like chanting. That is their consciousness. But that is not pure bhakti, because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is Gyan Mishra Bhakti. It is gyan about the weaknesses of the material world. It is gyan about the opulence of Vaikuntha, which will deliver us from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, from birth, death, old age, disease. So the center is me. I'm frustrated, I want to get out. How many of us think that I want to go to Golok or I want to go to the spiritual world so that I will be able to always serve Krishna? That's the difference in consciousness. We have to be very honest. And these things are not discussed in a wide way or as much it should be. 99.999 to the power of n, even in our ISKCON movement, back to Godhead, that is the goal. No, that is not the goal. Our Goswamis have clearly said that. I have not seen a single Rasik Acharya's Vaishnava writing where they are requesting that I would like to go home back to Godhead. Keep me wherever you want to, O Krishna, Swargeshu, Narkeshu, Apavargeshu, Samatulya Darshina for a Vaishnava. Whether you send me to the heavenly planets, you send me to the hellish planets, or you send me to Apavarga. Apavarga means Vaikuntha. Samatulya Darshina for a pure Vaishnava. Wherever I am, I would always like to serve you. Narsi Mehta, a pure Vaishnava who came in Gujarat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had the opportunity to take darshan of Mahaprabhu. And of course, because of the mercy of Lord Shiva, he was given the highest and the purest bhakti. And he says, Harina janto mukti na mange, janama janama utar re, nitya kirtan nitya ocho, nirakhva nanda kumar re. The pure devotees of Krishna, the Vaishnavas, they never ask for liberation. Mukti na mange. Janama janama avtare. Let me be reborn again and again. Doesn't matter. Janama janama avtare. Nitya kirtan nitya ocho. Wherever I am, let me eternally chant your holy names. Nitya kirtan nitya ocho. Let me serve you in a very, very festive mood. Nirakha Nanda Kumar. Simply to serve. Nirakhna, there is no particular word in English. But those who understand Hindi, Nirakh means probably the most closest word would be to adore Krishna. Adoration. And adoration is extremely sweet when there is a lot of prema. So it's all about prema that we are talking about here. And that is why Vishnu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has rejected. And also the Varnasrama, because Varnasrama will lead to Vaikuntha. It will not lead to Krishna Prem. We can be in Varnashram as we speak right now. But if by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, we can transcend all the 4 ashrams and all the 4 varnas and become pure Vaishnavas, and we can already be situated beyond the Varnashram system. Just like a student has to go through 1st to 10th grade in order to go to college. And even in college, undergrad, grad, postgrad, masters, etc., doctorate, these are different stages. So Varnashram is a wonderful stepping stone. But those who are satisfied with that, and their whole idea of Varnashram is that there is a lot of frustration in the material. This material mein kya rakha hai? Sab dukhi hai. Even Krishna ne bataya hai. Krishna also says that there is a full ocean of frustration, ocean of miseries. So there's nothing here. It's better to go home back to Godhead. So if that is the mindset, and if we chant with that consciousness, whether it is Hare Krishna Mahamantra or we read Bhagavad Gita or even Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., then when we die, certainly Krishna is kind. We did our part. He will do his part. He will transport us back to Godhead. But back to Godhead means it's a lot of different spiritual planets. Even if one is attracted to Sri Krishna, one will be attracted to Krishna and Aishwarya. Those who are simply only delving in Bhagavad Gita, the maximum possibility will be that they will end up in the Vaikuntha Dwarka, where the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord is there. Even the Bua or the auntie of Krishna, Kunti Devi, she knows Namasye Purusham Adhyam Ishwara Prakrite Param Alaksham Sarva Bhutanam Antar Bahir Avastitam Nama Pankaja Nabhaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankajangraye. The Bua, the motherly auntie of Krishna, she offers obeisances to Krishna, because that opulence, that awe and reverence is there in Dwarka. Mother Kunti spoke this in Dwarka. She is a resident of Dwarka. She is aware fully that my nephew is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Mother Yashoda and the likes of Mother Yashoda in Vatsalya Ras in Golok, even when they get a little glimpse, like at Brahman Ghat, when Krishna ate the mud and Mother Yashoda asked him, Kana mitti khai? Mukh khol tera. And when Krishna opens his mouth, she sees all the universes. She sees the universal forms. She sees all the creation, including Gokul and the tree under which she was sitting along with Kanuji. And then she is mesmerized. Ari Baba, Vishnu's Mahamaya is so strong that in the middle of the day, I'm seeing all these things in my Lala's mouth. He's just my Lala. And then she just picks him up, cleans him up, takes him home, gives him a nice bath, chastises him some, because now that because Mother Yashoda has chastised him, Krishna has become very sad. Then Mother Yashoda, with a lot of love, kisses him and gives him some makhan and misri and makes him happy. Completely no idea that he is the Supreme Person of God. All these wonderful feats that he did in Braj, killing all those demons. It is by the mercy of Vishnu that my son has got some power. That's how they say, the Vrajvasis. They're always concerned about Krishna. They're always doing what do you call Nazar Utarna. Mother Yashoda, she takes the Panchagavya, the cow urine, the cow dung, and the milk and the butter and the yogurt, and she applies it on Krishna so that the evil will not touch Krishna. And she will sing wonderful songs that will appease Lord Nrsimhadev for the protection of her child. That is Kaschit yatate siddhaye, that kind of perfection. That will take us to Golok Vrindavan, or in wherever we are, it will bring us to Vraj, or Vraj will come to us. Doesn't matter where we are. We may be in Canada or in Bombay or in Tokyo. If one has got that Vraj Bhav by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, and I mean Guru means pure Gurus, not those Gurus who are just simply going around, for, like Mahaprabhu says, Dhanam Janam Sundarim, for wealth, just to accumulate disciples, Janam, followers, people. Neither have they understood the highest goal of life, nor they are able to give it to their disciples. And nor are they interested, because they are interested in these Dhanam, four things: Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, and Kavita. Kavita means praises. Wow, 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 Maharaj, you're amazing. Wow, 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 wonderful. 90% of the time I see that after a class, I'm sorry to say that, but sometimes even the sannyasis, when they speak, there's hardly any substance that is related to the topic that is being discussed, or the shloka. And then at the end, 40 people will gather around with showing their Wow, 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 Maharaj, bahut acha tha class aapka. And then if you turn around and ask them, can you tell me what was the main theme of this class, or what did you get? Oh, Prabhuji bhul gaye. This is the situation. Prabhupada used to say that when one animal is praising another animal, of course, I would not go to the extent of saying that when it comes to anybody speaking katha, but from a different angle, in this world today, there are so many people who will simply do maska bhaji, Polson butter. In India, we call that. Simply, that is called Kutaniti. It is one of the anarthas. It has been explained by the Shastras about the anarthas, duplicity. That, just simply one is not understood. They will never even raise their hands that I have not understood their point, because they are afraid that the rest of the people will think that they are fools. So when everybody is laughing, or when everybody is nodding their head, they will also look around, they will also start nodding their head. Barabar. Bahut acha. Very good. So this is the situation in today's world, full of hypocrisy, kutaniti. So that is why Rayaramanada first says Varnasrama, which is correct, based on Shastra. Chaturvanya Maya system, Guna Karma, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Iha Bahya. This is external. Please tell me more. Then further he says, Ramanand Rai, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, and whatever austerities you perform, all the results of such activities should be offered to me, Sri Krishna. And then he quotes that particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita. If you all know, Yat Karoshi, Yat Asnasi, that verse in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever you do. So again, that also has been rejected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why is it rejected? Because again, there is a sense gratification involved. We do not give even when we are offering, making an offering to Krishna. Most of us, we offer what we like. We do not offer what Krishna likes. We don't care to understand what Krishna likes. If we do that, then we will have, that's what it will thali. But today, if you just put a tulsi leaf, patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, even all the Goras and all the Westerners, they say that Prabhupada said you offer with love and Krishna will accept. Yes, he will accept when the tulsi leaf is there. But whether he will like it or not, that's a different question. Prabhupada had clearly mentioned, but nobody's following. No ice cream. Prabhupada said that, his own handwriting. No chocolate. No eating in restaurants. All these things, Prabhupada, handwritten. I've seen that letter, Prabhupada's letter. But today it has become a Sagvadiya Dharma. Whatever is convenient to me, not convenient to Krishna. So Krishna is kind. Okay, fine. You put some pizza, put some pasta. Many Maharajas in our they will not eat Indian. They will only eat bland pasta. And I have known certain Maharajas who are in charge of certain temples. They throw away the spices that are there in the kitchen. If there was some devotees secretly on a Sunday feast, they bring the spices like the red chili powder and the garam masala from their own homes, carrying them in plastic shopping bags, and making sure that this Maharaj is not there today. Because everybody is complaining that the food has no taste, but it is only catered for the Westerners. This is a hardcore fact. But we Indians have this mentality of the British type. The British are our boss. 90% of the time, we find that nobody has that courage to speak as it is. They don't tell the Maharaj that, Maharaj, in Vraj, Krishna is given makhan roti. He's given that wonderful sabji, reeking with oil. He likes it, so we should give it. At least on his plate, we should make these things. He likes the lal mirchi, he likes the hari mirchi. Prabhupada liked the lal mirchi. He did it because Krishna liked it. But no, we are here for dilution. What I like, and because I have the stick, I will be able to control the buffalo. Jiski lathi, uski bhains. So I like pasta, I am the Swami here. So make pasta, make cake, make this, make that, and offer it with love to Krishna. What kind of love is that? Arey, go to Bhakti Vinod Thakur's bhajans, Bhogarti. How many people are singing it today? Bhaja Bhaka Tavatsala Shri Gaura Hari. Bhaja Bhaka Tavatsala Shri Gaura Hari. Gaura Hari Sohi Gosta Vihari. Nanda Yashomati Chitta Hari. Bhaja Bhaka Tavatsala Shri Gaura Hari. Mother Yashoda is calling Krishna. Bela hoilo damodara aisai khano. Come on now, right now. It is getting late for lunch. Bhoga mandire bosi kore bhojana. And he's called, and Krishna is called by mother. Now come, sit down in the dining hall and start eating your lunch. Nandera nideshe vaisi girivardhari. Krishna Girivardhari is sitting next to Nanda Maharaj. Baldeva Saha Sakha Baise Sari Sari. And along with all the other Sakhas, the friends, Krishna, Balram, and Nanda Maharaj, they are seated to have lunch. And what are the items? So many items. These are given because Bhakti Vinod Thakur is present as Kamala Manjari, assisting Radharani. Sukta Sakadi Bhaji, Nalit Kusumanda, Dali Dalna Dugda Tumbi Dadi Mocha Khanda. Different items like there is a sukta, is the green leafy vegetables, nice fried things, salads that are made out of green leaves, out of the jute plant. Then there is koda, pumpkin, baskets of fruit, small square cakes that are made out of the mung dal, and they are cooked in some milk. And then thick yogurt, squash cooked in milk, and vegetable preparations made from the tower of the banana tree. So all these specifications are there, like this. And then they receive different mung dal patties, urad dal patties, chapatis, rice with ghee, mishtan, sweet, made with milk, sugar, sesame seeds, rice flour cakes that are cooked and boiled down in the milk. And there are cakes that are floating in milk, like rasmalai, etc. And then kheer, sweet rice. And then there is different sweet rices that are made, some with some saffron, some with camphor, with kapur. And then there is some kheer that is made with bananas, and with some paneer, which are so nectarian and delicious. And along with that, they are served with Dwadasha Amla Prakara. Dwadash means 12. 12 different, Amla means sour items. Different chutneys. Chutneys that are made out of imli, tamarind, limes, lemons, oranges, pomegranates. Like that, so many items. And there are puris that are made of white flour, and there are sweet puris that are made from chashni, that in the sugar syrup. And there are cream-filled puris and laddus, and there are dal patties that are sweet. Mohandar, mathdi, bundi laddu. Krishna eats all these, wonderful. And in such great ecstasy, Krishna is enjoying Radhika Pakayana Vividha Vyanjana Paramanande Ko Krishna Korena Bhojana. So when we give bhojan to Krishna, is he doing it with Paramanandena, or is he doing it out of because we have served? Just like when we sometimes a guest invites us to their house, and let's say supposing if we don't like what we call eggplant, brinjal, but the guest has nicely made eggplant brinjal pakoras, brinjal what do you call eggplant baigan bharta, and so many other items that are there that are all made from baigan. And the poor guest, he doesn't eat that, but still he will take a little bit of each reluctantly, but he will take it because it has been served. क्या करेगा, अभी आए हैं, प्रसाद लेना है. But Radhika pakai anna vividha vyanjana, vivid, many, Radharani has prepared many different wonderful samagris, items for Krishna's bhoga, for his enjoyment. Parama Ananda Krishna Korena Bhojana. So that is the goal of it is prema. It's all about. So yad karosi, yad yasnasi, yad juhosi dala, all these things we do based on the Bhagavad Gita understanding is because we will not incur any karmic reaction. So it is again selfishness. भाई कर्म लग जाएगा, reaction लग जाएगा. कृष्ण को ऑफर नहीं किया, if you have not offered, भोग नहीं लगाया, तो it is full of pap, which is true. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter, what is that verse? That yagya sistina sinto buchyante sarvakil vishayate tam agam papam jena pachanti atma karana. If you take any foodstuffs without offering me, then you are only eating sin. Papa tetam agam papam, a great sin. So that we do not incur pap, yad karosi yad asnasi, whether it is a sari or a piece of cloth or ornaments or whatever, we have been taught we should offer to Krishna. And offering to Krishna is not offering out of love, it is out of bhai, it is out of fear. So there is some selfishness. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected this also, stating that iho bhaiya aage kaho. This is also external. Please tell me further. Then Ramanand Rai says that occupational duties as described in the religious scriptures, if one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a person is considered a first-class man. So when Swanushtishta Dharma, or one can say that other verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. So when one gives up all kinds of varieties of religion to surrender to Krishna, Aham Tam Sarva Pape Bhyo Mokshasyami Masucha, even that has been rejected. Why has it been rejected? Because there is no prema here. There is fear. There is fear. Raghunath Das Goswami says that na dharman na dharam shruti gana nirkutam kila kuru vraje radha krishna prachura paricharyam ihataro. This is in Manosiksha by Raghunath Das Goswami. He has thus enjoined that we should not perform religious or irreligious activities as prescribed in the Vedas. So even the Vedas have been shelved now. According to Raghunath Das Goswami, the best course is to engage always in the service of Lord Krishna and Radharani. That is the perfection of everything in this life. And similarly, Prabhupada has quoted that, stating from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yadya Ayasya Anugrahani Bhagwan Atma Bhavita Sa Jahati Matim Loke Veda Cha Parinishtitam. When one actually takes to the loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gives up all duties to the material world, as well as all duties prescribed by the Vedic literature. So, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, if one gives up all duties, giving up the duties of the material world with the family and ties and this, only to escape them, only with the intention to go back home, back to Godhead, then there is selfishness. And then that surrender to Krishna is out of fear. That is why when Arjuna surrendered to Sri Krishna, it is good, but he surrendered out of fear. That is why Krishna had to speak the last two lines in that verse. The last line, Ma Sucha, do not fear. He would have not said that to the Vrajvasis. Because if they would have acted based on Krishna's Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam, whatever Krishna wants, they would have acted without thinking twice and without any fear. Like an example, if I can recollect, Krishna used to cry every time when in Dwarka, every night. and his pillows would get wet due to his tears, and in his sleep he would call the name of Rajvasis. He would call the name of his cows in Vrindavan. He would call the name of the gopis. He would call the name of his sakas. He would call Radharani, Hey Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. And in his sleep, he would even pull the veil, the achal of Rukmani Devi, calling Radhe, 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 tugging on her veil. So all these queens were perplexed. And the 16,108 queens, they gathered and they said, this is what I'm experiencing at night. Every night, our Dwarkadish is crying, and he is always taking names of persons who are in Vrindavan, and one particular gopi by the name Radha. So I experienced that. Rukmini told Jamvati, and Jamvati says, yes, I experienced that. And like that, all the queens, they said, yes, yes, yes. So what is the solution? And at that time, in order to explain that bhav of Vrindavan and the bhav in Dwarka, although the queens of Dwarka loved Krishna, there's no doubt about that. They served him very well. There is no doubt about that either. So in order to explain that bhav of Raj, Krishna, one day, he took upon himself a very terrible stomachache. It was so bad that he was writhing in pain. And all the queens were concerned, and they brought the best doctors, and still, after administering different medicines, still the pain would not go. And at that time, Naradji came, and Naradji was concerned, the queens were concerned, and they said, Naradji, please help us. All the best doctors tried everything, and they still could not find a cure for our Prannath, our life and soul, Dwarkadish. So Naradji was very thoughtful, and he said, I think the best thing is maybe we can ask Dwarkadish what is the solution, because they had tried everything. So Dwarkadish said, with a very, very pale and a very, very in a moaning tone, perhaps if I can get some dust of all of you, and I can mix it with water, and I will drink it, then my pain, my stomachache will go away. So Naradji says, what's the big deal? Here we are. Rukmini ji, Satyabhama ji, Jamvati ji. He called out all the queens, and all of them says, what are you saying, Naradji? With folded hands. Dwarka, this is our Swami. We are not qualified to give our dust to him, but we are qualified to take his dust. And like that in Dwarka, Naradji asked everyone, all the Dwarkavasis, and they would not. They said, we will go to hell if we give our dust, our Raja, Charana Raja, to Krishna. They all backed out. And Krishna says, Narad, go to Vrindavan. Go to Vrindavan. Naradji immediately flies to Vrindavan. Upon seeing Naradji, the gopis, the gopas, and the cows and everybody recognizes that a messenger has come, bringing some message from Krishna, and they were all very, very excited, very happy. And some of the gopis, just seeing Naradji, they fainted. And when Naradji approached the rest of the gopis, he says, Naradji, you've come, I'm sure you brought some news about our Nandanandan, Praneshwar, Krishna. So Naradji kind of hung his neck and says, what happened? How is our Krishna? He says, just a gesture, not good. And the other half fainted. Somehow the other, they were revived. And they said that, well, we heard Dwarka is a very big city. So much opulence, so many palaces, so many doctors and so many architects and so many skillful people. All that was tried. All kinds of doctors came, nothing. And to that, the gopis were very sad. The Vrajvasis were extremely, the Naradji, what is the solution? You have come here. Yes, I have come here with some hope. Well, tell us, what can we do for you? Well, Dwarkadish himself has said that if you can give the dust of your feet, he will mix it in water and drink it, and that will eradicate his stomach ache. So the gopis immediately started scraping their feet and gathering the dust in their achal into their upper cloth. And they all started doing that. And Naraji says, aren't you afraid of going to hell? This is a supreme personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna, Dwarkadish we are talking about, because nobody wanted to give their dust in Dwarka. So the gopis said, Naradji, we are not afraid of going to hell. We are ready to go to hell eternally, as long as you take this dust, and if it mitigates my kanas, our kanas pain, and he becomes well. That is Vraj Prem. That is the kind of prem that Raghunath Das Goswami is speaking about. But Prabhu said, Eho bhaiya, aage kaho aur rai kahe, Gyan Mr. Bhakti Sadhya Sar. This is external. Please tell me more. And then he goes to say about, with knowledge mixed with bhakti, one can perform. So like this, that is the recommendation, and one will be very happy. And we already know that Gyan Mishra Bhakti is more or less based on selfishness. It is not for the satisfaction of Krishna. So then he quotes a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Rayaramanada. Brahmabhuta prasanna atma na sochati na kangshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktir labhate param. Quoting Bhagavad Gita is according to the Bhagavad Gita, because you remember Mahaprabhu said, whatever you say, you have to substantiate with verses from the Shastra. So he's still quoting from the Bhagavad Gita that according to the Bhagavad Gita, one who is thus transcendently situated on a higher platform, on a transcendental platform, one realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires, na sochati na kangshati, for anything. He is equally disposed towards everyone. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Mad bhakti labhate param. So, Prabhupada mentions in this verse that in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a person who accepts the theory of monoism, Brahma Bhuta. So here there is some ambiguity. Although Krishna is the Param Brahma, Arjuna acknowledges that. But it can also mislead people, because that's what's very easy. Monoism means Mayavad. And they are always engaged in empirical philosophical discussions, which is what Shankaracharya Pad said to his disciples at the end. When he was leaving his body, he says, Bhaj Govinda, Bhaj Govinda, Bhaj Govinda, Mudha Mate, Samprapte Samhita Kale, Nahi Rakshiti Dukkarne. So at the end, all this grammatical studying of logic, nyay, philosophical discussions is not going to help you, save you. Only Bhaj Govinda, with pure devotion, think of Krishna, think of Govinda, then you will be saved. So that is why Shankaracharya Pad had to specify that just before he left his body to his Mayavadi disciples, that Bhaja Govinda. No point in empirical philosophical discussions and trying to find 40 meanings of one verse, which is totally against the principles of pure bhakti. And then even when they enter Brahmajyoti, they become joyful and relieved from all material lamentation and hankering, as we had mentioned earlier, and also based on the Anubhashya commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. At that stage, one is equipoised. One becomes, because one has entered on the spiritual platform, even though it is a Brahmavad platform, one sees upon everybody equally. Why? Because they see everybody as Sarvamidam Khalo Brahman. They see everything as Brahman. So from that perspective, but they do not see, the defect is they do not see that everything is a part and parcel of Sri Krishna, and they are never annihilated their existence. There is a difference. But even in that state, one gets some kind of joy. Otherwise, why will they take to this very tedious process of meditation and dhyan, and even though they are Mayavadis? So after attaining this elevated stage, Srila Prabhupada says one can attain pure devotional service. So if they get the mercy of the pure Guru, then they can get Guru Krishna Prasadepai Bhakti Lata Bij. One will be able to, by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, get the pure Vaishnava conclusions, where they will even give up the Brahma Bhut platform based on the Mayavadi explanation. So Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu ko hai eho bhaiya, aage kaho yaar, rai kare jnana shunya, bhakti sadhya sar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, eho bhaiya, this is external. Aage kaho, tell me further. So he has even kind of rejected Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma for the fear that it can be misunderstood, and for the fear that most people will not be able to comprehend the part Brahma Bhuta. It can either go in terms of Mayavad, and it can also, only very few Vaishnavas will understand that Brahma Bhut means the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna Nandanandan. So Rai kahe, Ramananda Rai says, Jnana Shunya Bhakti. There should be bhakti that is bereft of zero knowledge or empirical knowledge, meaning philosophical knowledge that will simply take us to speculation. Sadhyasar, that is the essence of life. That is the essence, because Mahaprabhu had asked him in the beginning, what is the essence of life? The duty of man, Sadhyasar. So like this, again, going back to the same understanding of Anubhasya, even if one, Sri Bhakti Saraswati says that this stage devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge is also external and not with the jurisdiction of pure devotional service as practiced in Vaikuntha Loka. As soon as there is some conception of materialistic thought, be it positive or negative, the service is not spiritual. It may be free from material contamination, but because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from the contamination of material life. A living entity who wants to be completely pure must be above this material conception. The negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. So this is a point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sri Thakur makes. Neti, negation. So what they do, the Mayavadis or the Brahmavadis, they say, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. They look at all the things around them in this material world. I am not the sky, I am not the water, I am not the earth, I am not the ether, I am not this, I am not that. Everything they will say, I am not. That is called neti. So they will say 1 million things that they are not. And all then they will say, who are they? Satchitananda Rupam Shivoham. I am he. I am that Aham Brahmasmi. So they will, that process of neti, which here Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sri Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, the negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. So if another good example would be, the negation in the body. Srila Prabhupada has given this example, I recollect, in many different places. But supposing if one is inflicted by fever, or one is diseased. So that is a negative thing. That is a negative thing, right? But when the disease state is finished, when the fever is gone or the body pain is gone, that does not mean that it is a super positive state. It is just a normal state. Super positive state is when we are extremely happy on the spiritual platform, Shuddha Sattva. So the negative, so negating negating that fever, negating the body pain, negating all the diseases in the body, counteracting them, is not a spiritual activity. Then we come to the normal platform. But from normalcy, we have to transcend that and come on the spiritual platform. So I hope this example makes it very clear about, especially when the Mayavadis talk about neti neti, negative, I'm not this. Basically, what they're saying is, I'm a spirit soul. But before saying that, and I am He, I am God, I am that Brahma. Before that, they want to negate everything. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not this. There is a song also, I can't recollect that. Naham, something, Naham. I'll have to look it up. I think this is what the Mayavadis sing. It's a very nice song that they sing, that kind of depicts this philosophy. So a million things they say they are not. And then finally they say, we are Shivoham, I am He, I am Soham, Soham, I am God, I am that Brahman. So the negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. After material existence is negated, spiritual existence, namely Satchitananda, still may not be manifested. That's the same point that I was mentioning. From the unhealthy state, when we become healthy, it is a normal state. Until one comes to the stage of actual understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, he cannot enter into spiritual life. Spiritual life means becoming detached from material life and engaging in the loving service of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore asked Ramanand Rai to explain something transcendental to devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokoyanti Yam Shama Sundar Chinti Guna Tatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this is the same thing that is mentioned in the purport. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna. Premanjana Churita. Who cannot be, and he Ajita Jito, Krishna cannot. One of the names of Krishna is Ajit. Ajit means to conquer, and Ajit means one who cannot be conquered. So that verse will come further, where Lord Brahma's quotation, or that verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Rayaramananda will be quoting, Ajito Jito Apiva. When one is surrendered to Krishna with their mind, words, and body, then one can even conquer the unconquerable Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning this a little bit in advance. No one can conquer him. He is Ajit. One can attain the stage of pure devotion simply by fully surrendering. This is next corroborated by Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3, which is the verse that I was mentioning, wherein Lord Brahma, defeated by the potency of Sri Krishna, fully surrendered unto the Lord. So then he quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto that Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sana mukharita bhavadiya varta sthane sthita shruti gatam tanova manobhir ye prayaso ajita jito api asita strilokyam Jnane prayasam udapasya namante eva jivanti san mukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthita shruti-gatam tanu va manobhir je prayaso ajita jito api asi taistri lokyam. Meaning, Ravandra said, Lord Brahma, quoting Lord Brahma from Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 10th canto, he quotes that verse, which is from the chapter number 14 and text number 3, that Lord Brahma said. So this is probably after Lord Brahma's Leela, where he has stolen Krishna's cows, and then he is very sorry. After the Brahma Vimohan Leela, Lord Brahma offers Krishna prayers to Krishna. And in that section, in a very apologetic tone, in a very prayerful mood, Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, O Krishna, those devotees who have thrown away their impersonal conception of the absolute truth," that means the Mayavadi concept. That means that everything is nirgun, there is no qualities, there is no shape, there is no form, there is no personality. Everything is just a light. It is Brahma Jyoti. It is the Brahma. So one, when throws away that impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empirical knowledge, meaning Gyan, when one gives up all kinds of arguments, because when one studies the Vedas, that's what Panditas do. There's a lot of debates that like Keshav Kashmiri came from Kashmir. He was a Kashmiri Pandit and he wanted to become Digvijay. He was so proud and arrogant of his knowledge of Vedas that he went all over India and he met all the different scholars. Whichever town or whichever village he went, he would say, "Who is the big scholar in your town? I want to speak to him. I want to debate with him." And he went all over India like that, debating and defeating. And he wanted to make sure that wherever he went, he would defeat everyone and he would get the Digvijay title. So when he came to Navadvip, at that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very young. He was a young lad. And when he arrived in Navadvip, Navadvip was considered one of the biggest seats of learning. Just like Banaras is considered even today, the what is that? Banaras Hindu University and so many Vidyapits are there in Banaras. But there were Vidyapits in Kashmir. There were Vidyapits, there were higher Vidyapits in even Navadvip. Great scholarly persons like those who are very learned, and of course those who are in pure bhakti. Personalities like Rup Sanatan, they came from the southern India, from Karnataka, and then they settled in Gaud. They settled in the Gaud Desh. Therefore, they were known as Gaud Brahmins. They were God, and of course they were Gaud Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Navadvip was the seat of learning. Navadvip is very old. It is mentioned by even, what is that Muni's name? Kara Ravinde, Napada Ravindam, Vinesh Viyantam, Supudeshanam, Balam Mukundam, Manasa Smarami. I think it was Sobhari Muni. When the entire devastation takes place, he was seated in Navadvip at that time. And he sees that everything else was destroyed by he desired to see the effect of Maya. And Krishna says, "You really want to see my Maya?" And then he sees the destruction that happens. And then Krishna is floating, little Bal Krishna, Balam Mukundam, Manasa Smarami, with his lotus hands, lotus feet, sucking on his toe, Krishna. He's floating on the Vatasya Patra Saputeshayanam, Shayanam. He is lying down on a Vata Patra, on a huge banyan leaf, and he's floating in that water of devastation. So you can imagine, since time immemorial, Navadvip is considered the seat of learning. So he came there finally, and then he asked the boys that were playing, "Who is the big Pandit in Navadvip? I want to meet him and I want to debate with him." So this debate and this idea of becoming Digvijay is just a trip of false ego, simply for that purpose. And when one is involved in that, then there is no pure bhakti. So then they said Nimai Pandit is there, because they tried to make fun of this Keshav Kashmiri Pandit. And because he knew Nimai Pandit was very naughty. So if he goes to Nimai Pandit uski puri khich lega. Meaning Nimai Pandit will pull his leg. So but when he met, and he says, you are the most scholarly person. He says, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I'm not really a very scholarly person, but any case, you have come here for something, so you might as well, try to fulfill your desire." So like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him that, "I heard that you are a very, very big Pandit. Why don't you compose some verses that glorify Gangaji?" Because they were right, Navadvip is situated on the banks of the Ganga river. So he started composing wonderful verses spontaneously. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to make the long Leela short, found some mistakes. in those verses, and he was shocked. In the grammar, in the words that were used, they were not such a great Digvajay Pandit was corrected by a small boy. So then, feeling ashamed, he went home. He said, I will come back tomorrow. And like that, in the night, Saraswati Ma came in her dreams. Do you know what you have done? By my blessings, you have become a Digvajay Pandit. No doubt, you have knowledge in the Vedas, but you don't know who you have. You are trying to get into a conflict with, who you are challenging. He is my husband. Saraswati Devi is an expansion of Radharani. So you better apologize and you leave immediately. So early morning, before everybody came, he apologized, he offered his obeisances, and then he left Navadvip, defeated. So the point here Ramananda is making, again coming back to this particular verse and to this particular point, that therefore one should abandon discussing empiric philosophical truths. Those truths, even Vedas, studying of Vedas, if it does not culminate into pure bhakti, then it is shrama eva hi kevalam. It is simply a waste of time. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Vasudeva paraveda, Vasudeva paramakaha, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva param tapaha, Vasudeva para kriyaha, Vasudeva paro dharmo, Vasudeva paragatihi. So the goal of Vasudeva paraveda, to study the Vedas, if one doesn't culminate into Vasudeva or Krishna's bhakti, then that is the actual goal of studying Vedas. If it is anything else besides knowing Krishna or loving Krishna, then it is simply a waste of studying Veda. Vasudeva param makaha. When we perform yagyas, it is for the satisfaction. Makha means yagya. It is for the satisfaction of Krishna. Otherwise, any yagyas that are performed for sense gratification, like even many Rakshasas perform yagyas. I think, which was that Raksha? It was that Jatasur. No, what is the name? He had taken a benediction from Lord Shiva because he started fasting and even cutting his own flesh and started putting it in the yagya. And at that time, Lord Shiva appeared and says, what do you want? I want to become immortal. Give me that blessings that I cannot be killed. And I also want more blessings that whosoever I touch this finger on their head, they will burst. They will burst. So reluctantly, however, he had promised Lord Shiva. So he gave him that tathastu. So now, little did Lord Shiva suspect, because he is a Vaishnava. Vaishnavas are really sometimes very innocent also. They are chatur, but also they are very innocent. So now then this Bhasmasur, that was his name. Bhasmasur says that Shiva, let me try this on you, whether it is working or not. So he started advancing towards Lord Shiva with that finger and tried to put it on his head. And Lord Shiva became so scared, he started running fast. And then, of course, Krishna sends Naradji to the rescue of Lord Shiva. Immediately Naradji comes out, stop. He gets in between. Bhasma, hey, you get out of my way. I just got a nice boon. And then, I want to test it. And what is the boon? I'm curious. Let me know. So then he says, yes, the boon was that I requested Lord Shiva. He said, I'm pleased with your yagya, that you even started cutting your own flesh and throwing it into the yagya. So I asked him a boon, which he said he would grant. So what is the boon? That whosoever I touch with my forefinger, index finger on the head of that person or that thing, it will burst into pieces. It will explode. So Naradji says, I thought Bhasmasur, with all these austerities and these yagyas, only intelligent people can do those things. How intelligent are you? I'm very ashamed to tell you, you believed this fellow here. He doesn't even have a place to stay. He doesn't have proper clothes to wear. He's wearing some dead deer skin, and he's sleeping every day under some different trees. And if he had some powers, he doesn't even have proper, even simple ornaments. Just see, he goes to the crematorium and picks up skulls and bones and he makes a mala out of that. Somebody of that stature, do you think he can be trusted? And if he had so much power, then why could he not build a palace for himself? Or he could have worn some nice silk robes and nice gold and silver and emerald and ornaments full of pearls and all these things. That Bhasmasura, that is true. That is true. I think you are right. But you know what? I don't think his benediction is going to work. You can try it on yourself and just put it on your head and see if it works. Absolutely, it's not going to work. So Bhasmasura got into the trap and he put that finger on his own head and boom, his head exploded and he died. So the point here is that the yagyas, the siddhis, etc., if they are for their own sense gratification, then it is shrama eva kevalam, it is wasted. Vasudeva paramakaha, Vasudeva param jnana. Knowledge that doesn't lead to Krishna prema or to bhakti, then that knowledge is also not advisable, or it is simply a waste of time. Because it is a double-edged sword that will basically bring you back again and again in the material world. And even to the extent that one will feel that one is invincible and one is so powerful and one has become God, merged into and has become the Brahman. So they should completely, what Lord Brahma is saying is, devotees or people should give up all these things. And what should they do? They should completely follow the principles of devotional service. So here, bhakti has been established here, giving up anya bilashita sunya jnana karma navritam, giving up all kinds of zero knowledge that doesn't lead to bhakti, and all kinds of activities that will not lead, including the impersonal conception of the Mayavad concept, should be given up. But what is the positive thing that should be done? Lord Brahma says that one should always abandon discussing all these things, and the positive activities that one should always think about Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam of your holy name, form, pastimes, qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service or bhakti and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter. So Srila Prabhupada has further clarified this. These four things. Striyam dutam panam shunam yatra dharma chaturvida. Striyam means engaging in sense gratification with the opposite sex. Dutam, gambling. Panam, meaning intoxication. That includes tea and coffee. See, we in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we do not take even tea or coffee. So, what to talk about other intoxicants like tobacco or alcohol-related products, etc. So, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, animal slaughter, and of course, there's no question of eating meat. These things, yatra dharma chaturvida. These four, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex, are adharma. These four, and surrendering themselves fully. This is the point that Lord Brahma is making. Along with giving up all these things, remembering the holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities, one must surrender oneself with body, words, and mind. One should tanu vak manobhihi. Tanu means body, vag means words, and manobhi means with their heart or with their mind. Heart is located in the core of the mind is located in the core of the heart. So, but that means wholeheartedly. And that is the reason we, as the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we take 3 dandi sannyas. Just as a side note, the Mayavadi impersonalists, they take ek dandi sannyas. Ek dandi represents I am one with he. I am he. I am the Brahman. But the 3 dandi or the 3 dandas that are wrapped in a saffron cloth in a 3 dandi sannyasi is representing the 3 things that Lord Brahma is saying. Tanu, body, vak, speech, and manobhi, with the mind. One should serve Sri Krishna, surrender fully with body, words, and mind. And then they can live in any ashram or social status. So they can live in Brahmacharya ashram, Grihastha ashram, Vanprastha ashram, Sannyasa ashram, or they can be any social order. They can be Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahman. But if they are able to surrender themselves with body, mind, and words, then they are indeed, they can conquer you. These persons can conquer you, although you are known as Ajita, although you are unconquerable. But they will Jita api asitai trilokyam. Ajita, Jita. Ajita is Krishna. Jita means one can conquer the Ajita. One can conquer the inconquerable Krishna with the surrender of mind, body, and words. Asi tai trilokyam, within these three worlds. So this is a very wonderful message, which now is taking us to a higher platform of bhakti, which with Lord Brahma is mentioning. And this is the same thing, talking about surrender. If you remember, Thakur Bhaktivinoda's song, Sri Prabhupada used to sing it very nicely. Manasa deha geha jo kichu more, arpil tuva pade nanda kishore. Manasa, same thing here. Tanu vak manobhi. Manasa means manobhi, mind. Deha, deha means tanu. Manasa deha geha. Geha means all assets, everything that I have. Manasa deha geha jo kichu more. Whatever I have, arpilu tuva pade nanda kishore. I offer it to you, O young son of Nanda Maharaj, O youthful son of Nanda Maharaj. And which is basically the concept here is Gopi Bhav, that they gave up everything, they abandoned everything, their own families, their husbands, their children, the society, etc. From a Rasik angle, that is the meaning of this particular verse. So this is the, then Prabhu kahe eho hoy, आगे कहो यार, राय कहे प्रेम bhakti sarva sadho sar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this point says, this is all right. Iho bahya he doesn't say. So please make a note, my dear devotees. Previously in all the verses he said iho bahya. This is external. But from this point onwards, when the point of surrender in bhakti, that Lord Brahma's quotation or the verse that Rayaramananda quotes from the 10th canto, 14th chapter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a slight smile now. So Prabhu kahe eho hoy, this is good. Eho hoy, it is all right. Iho bahya nahi, he doesn't say that this is external. He doesn't reject it. There is some acceptance of this verse as we graduate further into that sweetness. So Prabhu kahe eho hoy, aage kaho aar, Rai kahe prema bhakti sarva sadhya sar. And Ramanand Rai said that pure devotional service is the perfection of life. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Prabhupada has quoted him from the Amrut Pravaha Bhashya. Amrut Pravaha means the flow of nectar. And he has given a bhashya, a commentary, a book by the name Amrut Pravaha Bhashya. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes the conversation up to this point. So the Amrut Pravaha Bhashya is about the conversation between Rai Ramanand and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we are right now studying. So many acharyas have commented on this, our Gaudiya acharyas on this conversation, because it is so sublime and the realizations are so unique. The conclusions are the same, but the realizations are so amazing based on every acharya's point of view, without any deferment on the main theme, which is Krishna Prem. So in this Amrut Pravaha Bhashya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes the conversation up to this point, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to Rai Ramananda, Eho hoy aage kaho aar. This is the process accepted in devotional service. But there is something more than this. Therefore, please explain what is beyond. Simply executing the duties of all varnas and ashrams is not good. Is not as good as offering all the results of one's activities to the Lord. So here kind of it is being summarized so far. There's a summary from this sentence. Simply executing the duties of all varnas and ashrams is not good as offering all the results of one's activities to the Supreme Lord. Yad karosi yad yasyasi. Right? When one gives up all fruitive activity and fully surrenders to the Lord, he attains Swadharma Tyaga. So that Swadharma Tyag means that we have certain duties that we come. Swadharma. So a Kshatriya's dharma is to fight. A Vaishya's dharma is to engage in trading, etc. A Brahmana's dharma is to guide the society with the Vedic guidance. So one ultimately has to even do dharma tyag, wherein he abandons the social order and takes to the renounced order. That is certainly better. However, better than the renounced, meaning even after taking sannyas. So one thing is that the sannyas ashram is the highest. No, it is not. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was beyond the sannyas ashram. He was in the Babaji Vesh. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were in the Babaji Vesh. They never took sannyas. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, out of humility, he took sannyas. He was highly qualified directly from his brahmacharya state directly into Babaji Vesh. But no, he had to preach. That was important. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, he did not have to take sannyas. He could have straight become one of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. But because he had to preach, and especially it was the instructions of his Gurudev, then for preaching purposes, sannyas is required, following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself had to take sannyas. That is the reason. Because as Nimai Pandit, especially after he came back from Gaya, after offering the Pindadan to his departed father, Sripad Jagannath Mishra, he was ecstatic in Krishna Prem, just chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra when he met his Gurudev, Srila Ishwar Puripad. So he accepts that by saying, Guru more murkha dekhiya. My Guru said that I am a fool and I should simply chant the holy names. Because that's what Sarvabhaumacharya asked him. You seem to be a sannyasi in my sampradaya, in the Bharati sampradaya. Have you learned Vedanta? When he takes him to his house, I saw you are dancing like a madman. We sannyasis don't do that. And you are chanting in kirtan. Have you learned Vedanta? I will teach you. So he says, Guru more murkha dekhiya. Ishwar Puripad, although knowing he is but he is playing the role on the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, meaning the request of Krishna, give him initiation. Because initially he was not ready to give Mahaprabhu initiation. But once he took the role of a guru, then he said that, repeating the words of Guru more murkha dekhiya. I am a fool. My Guru said I am a fool. I should simply chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. No need to study the Vedas. So then, with a smile, Sarvabhaumacharya said, okay, I will teach you, my dear boy. So out of great respect, because he was a grandfatherly figure, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Trinadapi Sunichena. So he said, okay, fine, I will listen. 7 days and 7 nights, he listens to the explanations of the Vedantas, based on the Mayavadi and the Brahmavadi concepts. So like this. So, of course, then later on, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu abundantly bestows his mercy and shows his Shadabhuja form to Sarvabhaumacharya and gives him pure devotion. And Sarvabhaumacharya is the one who composed so many wonderful bhajans and poems glorifying Mahaprabhu. Just this Thursday on Gaur Purnima Day, we sang a couple, Sachi Sutashtakam, and we also sang the Advaita Ashtakam that was compiled by Srila Sarvabhaumacharya. So I will be concluding this verse and then we will end today's session. When one gives up all fruitive activity and fully surrenders to the Lord, he attains Swadharma Tyaga, wherein he abandons the social order and takes the renounced order. That is certainly better. However, better than the renounced order is the cultivation of knowledge mixed with devotional service. So Gyan with Bhakti is a good thing. That will bring us to pure devotional service at some point. Yet all these activities are external to the activities of the spiritual world. There is no touch of pure devotional service in them, because here still Gyan is there. Even though it is Gyan for devotion, it is Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So pure devotional service cannot be attained by empiric philosophy, nor can perfection be attained simply by good association. So good association means sattvic people. Here that's what Srila Prabhupada mentions. So if we associate with sattvic people, maximum we will attain is Satogun, and then when we die, we will go to the heavenly planets. Devotional service by self-realization is a different subject matter. It is untouched by fruitive activities. There's no question of any karmakand or even offering the results to Krishna. Because offering the results is out of fear of incurring a reaction. That is why we become karma yogis. It is not for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna has recommended that so that we can slowly reach a higher stage of karma yoga. But karma yoga is not the ultimate. That's what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. Pure devotional service or the science of self-realization is a completely different subject matter. It is untouched by karma yoga. So for those of us who are constantly studying too much of Bhagavad Gita, karma yoga, this verses, that verses, then we have to again analyze why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says go beyond that. Why does he say that this is all external? It is untouched by fruitive activity, for one surrenders the results of activities to the Lord, abandons prescribed duties, and accepts the renounced order of life. Such devotional service is situated on a higher platform than that of empirical philosophical speculation with a mixture of bhaktis. This is verified by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasam Siddhu, which obviously Rupa Goswami has taken it from our predominant Acharya in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya line, from Naradji in the Narad Bhakti Sutra. Anya vilashata shunyam jnana karmadi anavrutam anukulyena krishna shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should surrender transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord favorably and without desire for material profit or gain. Throughout fruitive activities of philosophical, through the concept of fruitive activities and philosophical speculation, that is called pure devotional service. So anya vilashita shunya, zero material desires. Anya means all material desires, and that could also mean liberation. Liberation would be also considered, mukti is also in the category of material desire because it is for personal sense gratification. Anya vilashita, jnana, karma and anavritam. Further, Rupa Goswami and Naradji has specified that it should be bereft of any kind of gyan. Gyan is required to a certain extent, but then it has to be locked up and that key has to be thrown in the deepest ocean. Otherwise, gyan, we will never be able to understand pure bhakti. I've seen so many years, in the last 34 odd years that I've been in the movement, every Sunday we find there's so many, every Maharaj or every speaker is speaking and there's some regular attendees. Their questions never end. 30 years I've seen one person, his hand goes up first. And the interesting part is that he's a Mayavadi. And he does all this Sundarkand and all these programs. And he has become a pseudo sannyasi, self-initiated sannyasi, staying with his wife. He's very much into doing this Sundarkands on every Saturday and approaching all the different grastas, giving them fear that if we do Sundarkand, then, no evil will come to your house. No evil. So people, that's why they chant Hanuman Chalisa. That's why they perform Sundarkand. And in the earlier stages, because he used to come to ISKCON, many devotees who are of North Indian descent, they used to force me to come and sing some kirtan. So I used to go and chant the Mahamantra. And, of course, it would be not so, it would not be polite if I got up after doing my kirtan and packing my harmonium and leaving. So I would sit, and the kind of garbage that would go in my ears was just unbelievable. It was all basically ratta. And none of all these years that I saw and I heard about, and there would be hundreds of people coming, and he would feel so elated, and he would get so much money. And then he copied even the ISKCON acronym by calling his institution International Society for Spiritual Advancement, ISSA, ISSA. What a rascal. He came to ISKCON 25 years, 28 years, and unfortunately his heart was completely blocked. Pure bhakti never entered. That is the reason why Krishna is situated in everybody's heart. Please try to understand this concept. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say this. Don't try to, he would say that if you want to run away from Krishna, Krishna will help you because he's situated in your heart as Paramatma. He will help you how to run away from him. He will inspire you from within to make arguments. So this rascal person He has become famous. Now he has gone to Washington, D.C. It's been about 15 years since he went there. He works with the FDA, very big job. He has got attracted to money. He doesn't want to give up his job. He wants to be he wears saffron, stays with his wife, stays in a big mansion. But every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he is busy doing his Sundarkands, misleading people. He himself is misleaded. From the Katha we can hear. One time I told one devotee who is still a follower of him, and he's also initiated in ISKCON. I said, what do you get out of this person? Don't you see that we have so much nectar? Because he never reads Prabhupada's books. That's another thing. Because he gets to sing some bhajans, he goes like wagging his tail. Sorry to say such use of hard words, because that person eulogizes him. Oh, this is Gandharvaraj, padhare hai. Aiye, Gandharvaraj. He calls him Gandharvaraj. And so he falls for those Polson butter kind of techniques, because he wants a crowd, that man. So first there is kirtan, 10 minutes, 15 minutes kirtan, and he speaks, then they do Sundarkand, for 2 hours. Non-stop they do it. They repeat. And then they do this arti of Ramayana. But internally he is a Mayavad, because he has not even understood the samam bonam of Ramayana. The explanation, because from some of his lectures when I heard, he says that Ram is Param Brahma and ultimately we are all one. So that was his conclusion, Mayavad. So they don't even know. One time I had to tell him, why it is Sundarkand? Out of all the Kands that are there, from Balya Kand to Uttarkand in Ramayana, why is the pastimes of Hanumanji Maharaj called Sundarkand? It is not called Bhoot Pisach Nivaran Kand. It is not called eradication of evil. It is called Sundarkand. Why? Because of the Sundar Bhakti of Dasya Rasa of Hanumanji Maharaj. It completely a true representation or a true acharya in the Dasya Ras is Hanumanji Maharaj. Even when they sing the Hanuman Chalisa, Sadar Tulsidas ji has kind of given a blessings, or one kind of made a statement. Sada raho Raghupati ke Dasa. So you are so much engrossed in the Dasya Rasi, Dasya Ras. Oh Hanumanji Maharaj, please always remain in the Dasya Ras. Sada raho Raghupati ke Dasa. So how can you become a Das of a master if they are not real persons, or there is no personality, which this stupid person says that ultimately we are all one, even though he is reading the Raman Chopai and the Dohas. So that is this Samam Bonam. That is why it is the Sundar Bhakti of the greatest devotee in Ramayana, because Bhakti is Sundar, and because Hanumanji's Bhakti is so Sundar, it is Tulsidas ji has given it as the name Sundarkand. Although there are so many different Kshatriya-like activities of Hanumanji, burning Lanka, etc., but it is the pure devotion, so much dedication. Just the name of Lord Rama is powerful than anything. Just that conviction, it is indeed Sundar. So that is why it is Sundarkand. But who will explain it? Every time his hand would go up like this, he would rest. I clearly remember on his other palm, and his hand would go up like as if he's a great Pandit. So this is the case. One time I was so upset at him at one of the Vaishnava's house, ISKCON program. I was, kind of quoting Srila Prabhupada and something from the Shastra, and he immediately retorted, Prabhupada ji to abhi kya aaye hue? He's just come. Tulsidas ji to bahut purane zamane ke hai. Tulsidas ji. So who is disputing Tulsidas ji in one sense? But why are you minimizing our Srila Prabhupada? So like this, I actually then got up and I never wanted to see his face again. Never ever. Because if such persons, they're Haristane Aparade Tare Harinam, Tomastane Aparade Nahi Paritran. Narottam Das Thakur says if one performs some kind of an offense against the Hari, against Krishna or the Lord, then by chanting the holy names, one can eradicate that aparad. But Tomastane Aparade Nahi Paritran. One who has committed an offense against pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, there is no recourse. So he is simply into money, game, this, that. But that is why, this is the point that we are making here, that anukulina Krishna anushīlanam bhakti uttama. Uttam bhakti is that one should please Krishna, not for dhanam janam sundarim, not for any other sense gratification. So therefore Ramananda replied after hearing the last statement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, prema bhakti sarva sadhya sar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this verse, jnane prayasam, as the basic principle of perfection. So there is still some jnana here, but it is the jnana for bhakti. So that has been accepted. This acceptance has started right now. So one has to practice this principle in order to make further progress. When further progress is actually made, one comes to the platform of ecstatic loving service to the Lord. Ecstatic loving service means when we come to the state of nishtha, ruchi, bhav, and prema. That is what Srila Prabhupada is indicating. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love. See, this is important. Take this home, my dear devotees, today. Write it down somewhere in your hearts. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love. Ecstatic love means raganuga bhakti. 40 years, 50 years, if we are going to be staying only in sadhana bhakti, then actually we have not really done good sadhana bhakti to enter into the rasa. Think about this, what I'm saying. Again, I will repeat. If we had done really good some sadhana bhakti, like Srila Prabhupada's chant minimum 16 good rounds, good sadhana bhakti, then by now, for those of us who have been in the movement, say 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, that is sufficient enough time. Because sadhana bhakti is none other than an expansion of Sri Radha. So if we actually take to Bhakti Devi, we say that, right? Janithoni, everybody nicely. We sing that. Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mahapur Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai. Who is Bhakti Devi? Bhakti Devi is Radharani. So she has divided this into sadhana bhakti and prema bhakti or raganuga bhakti. So Prabhupada is see these things, when sometimes I talk about rasa, many people say we have never heard of this. I'm so sorry you have not heard it. Prabhupada never said. No, Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada is saying it right now. Right now I'm reading Prabhupada's purport as it is. Sri Prabhupada is saying that the result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love. So ecstatic love, Prabhupada is talking about raganuga bhakti, which is following in the footsteps of the Vrajvasis. In the neophyte stage, continuing in Srila Prabhupada's purport, sadhana bhakti includes faith, association with devotees, and practicing devotional service. So we have said that this is that particular shloka. Ado Shraddha. We have some faith, then association of devotees, Tatha Sadhu Sangha. Then the third stage is practicing devotional service, Bhajana Kriya. The fourth stage will be Anartha Nivritti, and then we enter into the Bhakti, which really starts with Nishtha. We are very fixed up, Ruchi. We have real taste in Krishna consciousness. Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. We are so attached that Raj Bhav has started manifesting due to the attachment. Bhav, then we get the Ekadash Bhav. We get a glimpse by the mercy of the Acharya Varga, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, by the mercy of Ananga Manjari. If we have practiced perfectly our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, then we will get a glimpse of our Ekadash Bhav. Who are we in Golok Vrindavan? What is our name? What is our identity? What is our tilak? What is our youth? Youth means our group with which manjaris we are associated as Dasanudas or Dasyanudasi. Where is our residence? What is the color of our varna, of our bodily complexion? The color of our dress? Just like when we are in a certain schools, when in our childhood we remember in the morning at 7:30, we used to go to the bus stop. So we used to walk from our home and go to the main road, standing, where my bus used to come. But along with that, I could see from far that, oh, there's the red tie student coming, and there is a one with the blue stripes with golden stripes as he's crossing the road, because his bus is also coming right there where my bus is coming. So we can tell, this fellow is from Campion. This girl is from JV Pettit School. Based on the uniform, we could tell the girls' school bus is coming now. Then we could tell that this bus, red tie, is St. Mary's SSC medium. And we could tell then this particular student is from, being from Bombay, I remember all these schools. They were all prominent schools. So anyways, we could tell from the uniform. So from the uniform, one can tell that, which camp we are in Radharani's camp, and under which Manjari, under which Gopi, under the guidance of Lalita, or under the guidance of Vishakhaji, under the guidance of Rupa Manjari, under the guidance of Nayana Manjari, etc. So like this, Ekadash Bhav is revealed, and then the final stage is the final stage of Prem begins. And then within Prem also there are different Krishna Prem, there are different delineations. The result of sadhana bhakti must be ecstatic love. Srila Prabhupada says that attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is also called Prema Bhakti. In the neophyte state, sadhana bhakti includes faith, association with devotees, and practicing devotional service. Thus, one is freed from all unwanted things. All unwanted things, that means all the anartha nivritti is that. One then becomes fixed in devotional service, nishtha, and increases his desire to act in devotional service. So, ruchi, asakti, bhav. Thus, one becomes attached to the Lord in his devotional service. So this is the verse that we very beautifully, like how Mahaprabhu accepts, and the ultimate goal of sadhana bhakti is prem bhakti. So for 40-50 years, if we are going to just do sadhana bhakti, then we will end up in Vaikuntha. Even when we die, if we remember Krishna, then not necessarily that we will get, or perhaps we will get birth in a Vaishnava family, and again, that is practicing Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And then we will be eligible to enter into the true bhav of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a Rupanuga, as a follower of Rupa Goswami. So thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So now you may unmute yourself if there's any comments, questions, or any kind of realizations that you would like to speak from your heart. Please feel free before we conclude today's session.
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Pranam Prabhuji, Dandvat Prabhu. Dandvat, Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham.
Na utpadayet yadi rati harim sam eva hi kevalam. Whatever we do, the ultimate aim is that we must develop the rati for the Hari.
Yes.
Dusra Hanuman ji ke liye. For the Hanuman ji, he is having three qualities, beautiful qualities.
Yes.
Ram kaj karve ko atur. Yes. Always ready to serve Ram.
Yes.
Second, Prabhu Charitra sunbe ko rasiya.
Yes.
Always interested in Hari Katha.
That is that is the meaning of Sundarkand. Very true.
Yes.
Thank you for quoting these wonderful points.
The Ram kaj karbe ko atur, Prabhu charit sunbe ko rasiya, Ram lasan Sita man basya.
Yeah.
These things we never do. These are very important, Prabhuji, from the Hanumanji's character.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, very nice elaboration of this discussion between the two great stalwarts, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda. I just enjoy them.
Jai. This is a topic that we can do again and again and again and again till we really get from sadhana bhakti, we get Krishna prem. Again and again and again we can hear this, we can speak about it.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Always it is Nutan. Always it is Nutan.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare,
Thank you so much.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Yes. Is there anybody else that would like to? Yes, Rajesh Kumar Prabhuji, go ahead.
No, thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks. Just I would like to say thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay. So I just see that somebody joined a few minutes ago, Nagar Natwar ji. You're welcome to the Bhakti Vedanta Bhagavad group. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Acharya Nidhi Prabhu, I think you have a bad connection. I see that you're going in and out. We're just about to conclude. Is there anything that you would like to say or speak? Please unmute yourself. Acharya Nidhi Prabhu?
Prabhu, I had a lot of issues with connections today.
I could tell, Prabhuji, I could tell because it was
I'm so
fluctuating,
sorry.
going in and out.
No, and I'm in the mountains, so sorry about that.
No, that's
I
okay,
couldn't
Prabhuji. That's okay. At
participate
least
very
you are
much, but
coming.
thank you very much.
Your rasa, the interest is there, Like I said, there's only a few
Thank
people, but I'm interested in the
Of
people who
course.
are really interested. We're not in the number game.
I know.
Not in the number game. This is for us.
No, this is Prabhu. You are like how can I explain? Honestly, I don't have right words to explain, but the bhav and enthusiasm to teach us the bhakti, Prabhu, that's unparalleled, and I really appreciate your time, efforts, and your merits. Honestly, as not many people has the same bhav,
Jai Shri Guru
So
Baba.
I'm so glad and that I got a connections with you somehow. Getting
Thank you,
lots of
Prabhuji. I'm
benefit
also
out
very
of your,
happy to have your association.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, Prabhuji, and most welcome to Calgary, Prabhu. Anytime, please.
Yeah. How long is your project going to last in the mountains?
Prabhu, it's very unpredictable, honestly. Like I sometimes come for a week and it lasts for a month even sometimes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I will stay in touch.
Yeah.
Perhaps this summer,
Hare
if I get some time,
Thank you.
I will try to come.
Oh, of course. Oh, of course, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay.
That will be awesome.
Hari Bol.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
pranam,
All
Hare
goes
Krishna.
to Prabhupada. Hare Bol. Dandavat.
Dandavat.
Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Guru.